How to make a business more profitable. If you're trying to squeeze money and more profits out of the thing that you've built, these are 3 simple strategies that you can use to pull more money out regardless of the industry you're in. One of my favorite things to ask at my live events is, which we've done 14 of them now, I always like, hey, who are the salespeople? If you're a salesperson, raise your hand. And it's super interesting to see that every time, maybe half, usually about 10% of people will raise their hand. And I'm like, you're an entrepreneur. You are in sales. And if you don't think so, that's the reason why your sales are low, right? If you're trying to figure out how to make more money from the thing you've create a more profitable company, the first thing, obviously, is you could increase your sales. But that really is just one strategy. As I have progressed from entrepreneur to marketer to CEO, all of those roles, really, it's all become about the financial sheets. Now, I'm not here to go through any accounting lessons. I don't know that stuff, right? I go through the financial sheets of my own company. I track that stuff very closely, but I'm not going to go through that kind of stuff in this video. I'm going to show you 3 simple ways that you can increase the profits and the profitability of what you've created without being an accounting person, but still you should go to CPA. Let's dive in. All right, at the start of the pandemic, we were trying to figure out the answer to this exact video, right? And I was like, man, we got to become more profitable. We have no idea what's going to happen economically. Oh my gosh, are we okay, right? And I remember I read this book, and this book was saying, you should print out all of your transactions and you should go through every single transaction and scrutinize it. And I was like, that's really interesting, right? And as I say that, that's really obvious advice. And you're like, well, duh. Have you done that though? I went through and I printed out all of my transactions over the last 6 months from my business. And I started going, it took a little while, but I remember I stood in front of a TV and I was just sitting there and I was just like, we don't need that anymore. We don't need that anymore. I don't even know what that is. And I'd like highlight that one. Like, what's that one? We ended up cutting $16,000 in monthly expenses. That was recurring money going out. Oh my gosh. I was excited and pissed at the same time. At the time, we were exiting being a funnel building agency. So there's a lot of expenses we were dropping as far as being an agency ourselves. And so we were chopping and chopping and chopping and chopping and chopping. And it worked and it was great. But $16,000 a month. I later went back and cut another $4,000. And so my first piece of advice on this, and again, not your financial advisor, just telling you what I've done. But I would suggest strongly that you every quarter go and print out every quarter, just print out your quarterly business bank transactions and start to literally scrutinize them. What is it that you could actually cut? The second thing with that though is start to figure out how you could solve the same problem with less resources. Meaning, I'm like, you know what, do we really need this software and that software and that software? I think we could chop one of them and just still get by enough with those 2 together, right? And then you start combining solutions across softwares and different tools and whatever it is you're spending money on. So that right there saved us a bunch. Every quarter I print out our expenses, and then I do it on a business level, but I also do it on a personal level. So every quarter I'm going through and saying, what are my business expenses? What are my personal expenses that I don't need to be spending money on anymore? One of my favorite financial guys I do follow, his name is Brad Gibb from Cashflow Tactics. And he was telling me, we started a mastermind together called Titans of Industry. And he was telling me, Stephen, think about it. The money in your pocket is the most expensive money that you have. The dollar right now that's in your pocket is the most expensive dollar that you have. In order to have that dollar, right? He's like, Stephen, what would you need to do? And I was like, well, honestly, I need to sell $100 and then I need to pay my people. I need to pay for the product. I need to pay for fulfillment. I need to pay. By the time all the little bites and nibbles trickle down, the money that's in your pocket is the most expensive dollar that you have. He's like, so think about this. If you save even $1 here, you're actually saving yourself from having to go out and sell another $10 worth of stuff. Does that make sense? That's a big deal, especially for personal. But even for business, though, the trickle is massive by the time it comes to your wallet. So if you can go in and just save some extra cash, which doesn't sound sexy sometimes on the front end, all right? I'm going to sell. I get it. But you're actually going to be saving yourself a ton of future work just by literally keeping more of what you got. Piece number 2, I play a game with myself whenever I travel. That I want to pay for more than the trip by the time I return from the trip. So can I send an email? Can I, whatever. The first time I ever did this was I was with my buddy Colton and we were traveling. I was speaking at an event in Texas. I remember there's 1,000 people at this event and I got off stage and we had started playing this game as soon as we got to the hotel. And I was like, dude, how can we go and give ourselves a raise today? It's a great question to ask yourself. How can I give myself a raise today? And how can we make more than this trip cost? And we sent out, I think, an email or two and pulled like an extra 30 grand. And I was like, well, that worked, But asking that question, that's a powerful question to ask, right? Questions invite revelation. Write that down, staple it on your face, okay? Questions invite revelation. So you want a different answer, change the question. Right? If you're like stuck in a rut in your life, start asking different questions. You'll change your whole life. So I was like, well, how can we give ourselves a raise? And start trying to solve the problem that you put in front of yourself. So that's one of my favorite ways to do this. So what we do is I need a scorecard. So if I'm going to sell more money, right? Obviously I can cut expenses and then I can literally sell more. I want a way to track that though. And so I track daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly money. That's one of the top things I look at, especially if you're in business. If you're not revenue focused, you're going to not be in business. You're just not, right? Every business is starving for two things, leads and cash flow. And so if you don't have a way to track that and watch it every day, you're going to not be in business anymore, right? You need to be very heavily money focused, very heavily money minded in order to stay in business. It's just part of being in business, right? Employing your people, and that's a lot. So have a scorecard. Okay, and me personally, I look at it daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly, and I'm tracking metrics. And I every week with my team, we sit down and we're like, did we hit it? Why not? What can we fix so that we will hit it next week? And we're going through and we're saying every quarter, did we hit it? Why not? Well, we can fix it. And that is actually what's driving business development. It's the money scorecard, so that we're not off trying to build stuff that has nothing to do with what really matters, which is staying in business, which means selling more. So build the scorecard and do all of your business functions based on whether or not you hit that revenue goal. Hey guys, before I show you one of my last ways that I like to go and give myself a boost in revenue, I'd like to hear what yours are. Down in the comments down below, let me know what's one of the things that you do when you need like a little pop shot of cash. Like, oh, I got a project coming up and I need a little influx of cash coming in. In the comments below, what's one of your favorite ways to give yourself just a quick little boost so you can go off and do your next project? Also hit the subscribe button. We put out videos like this every single morning. When you hit the notification little bell button, we will tell you about it so you can get sweet, delicious cherry pie business stuff like this right to your YouTube channel. A couple of years ago, there was a guy who, he was building these sales funnels on the internet. And he said, you know what, if I'm trying to sell my product and eventually I want him to go buy the thing that's definitely much more expensive, he's like, I know it sounds crazy, but what if I just started talking about the thing that's more expensive immediately after they bought the thing before? And does that make sense? That I was like, that makes sense. And it exploded. It exploded. He literally ascended people from just literally after they purchase on the thank you page, and he'd be like, hey, if you like this, you also might like that. And it was much more expensive, but just because he asked, he started getting more sales. What do you think happens when you give people the option to spend more money? The chances are very high that they spend more money, right? And so that's what happens. And as long as your products are great, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, the second yes, please write this down. The second yes is always easier than the first yes. And so the third way, there's tons of ways. This is not an exhaustive list at all. But the third way I like to go and increase my business profits when I need to is to go in and literally try to find ways to pitch people after they've already bought something else. Think about all the work it takes to sell just the first time with somebody. And you got to go out and do your marketing and your follow-up. And right, there's lots of lead gen. Warm it up. Now it's a hot lead and close. And by the time they get in the front door, right, there is a lot of work that's happened there. The second yes is significantly easier, and there's almost no resistance sometimes. Yes, and you know what? Yeah. It's kind of like if you're at the checkout line in a grocery store, and you know those like knickknacks that they have around the grocery checkout? I mean, how many times I'll just take that since I'm here. Right? You're in the middle of buying and you justify on an instant. You probably wouldn't have gone to the store for that knickknack, but because you're in the middle of buying, you have zero resistance psychologically, and so you just start tossing crap in your cart, and they increase their transactions, right? They increase their average cart value. One of my favorite, I love the TV show The Office. There's this great show, the TV show The Office, where this temp burns the toast and sets a fire inside of the building. And I love this part because in The Office they say that it is 10 times more expensive to sign a new client than it is to sign an existing one, right? To upsell an existing one. Now, I don't know if those numbers are true, but the principle definitely is. And so one of the things that we do is we will reach back out to somebody who has already bought from us in the past, and we'll go and resell them, or immediately after checkout, we will upsell them. Does that make sense? We resell and we upsell. We resell and we upsell. And there's two primary ways that we pull that off. All right, I know that's a little thin marker here, but the first thing though is funnel OTOs, or we call them funnel one-time offers. And so this is the simple principle where we say, oh cool, you bought something. Do you also want to add this? Do you also want to add this? If you do that too many times, obviously you annoy the customers and that just gets annoying. But there's no problem with adding one or two after they buy something. We do that all the time. That's a great way to increase our profitability just by in the moment asking them, do you want to toss this in your cart? You're in the checkout line. The other way we do it though is, let's say they've already done the purchasing is over, and we just want to reach back out and say, you know, it'd be a great fit for X, Y, and Z. You already have that. Do you want this too? It goes even faster, right? You got maybe they got the do-it-yourself version. Do you want the done with you or done for you? And asking people who've already said yes to you in the past, literally just by calling them, is one of the easiest ways to increase your profitability. Before you click away, I got a free gift here for you. It's really cool. I asked 30 internet millionaires or very successful people what their final offer would be if they could only make one final offer, and how would they sell it if they had to fund the rest of their life. Let's say they got sick or something. All right, this is a pretty intense scenario, but I got back a lot of really cool answers and responses. If you go to yourfinaloffer.com, it's in the description, is also in the first comment. What it is it will share you, we're talking about profitability strategies. Well, they go through and talk about how they would, from their experience, okay, here's the 2 things I would do that would get sales for the rest of my life. That's a tough problem to solve. You can check it out for free. Click in the link in the description.